The content you are about to watch is meant for thought and consideration. Please be respectful of each other and opinions shared. This is a safe space to express thoughts, ideas, and information. The views and opinions expressed by individuals in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of every speaker of the IMEC organization or its affiliates. P.S. The Mandela effect is real. And welcome back, everybody, to the grand finale panel of the International Mandela Effect 2020 Conference. We are so proud to have everybody here on the panel, and there may be some that still pop in. This is going to be a 2-hour panel, so we may have some people that continue to join in. I would like to introduce the ones that we have here right now. I'm going to try to go pretty quick because we do have quite a few people here. First, we have Mr. Christopher Anatra, our Vice President of IMEC. Then we've got Miss Eva Nye, followed by Eileen Colts, Cynthia Sue Larson, Akronos Mago, Shane Robinson of Unbiased and On the Fence, Mr. Sean Bond, appreciate that, and the TARDIS back there, but I love the TARDIS background, I'm not gonna lie. Suso, Anthony Santasuso has joined us on this panel, ladies and gentlemen. We are so very, very happy that he has decided to join us for the last day panel, and of course, Miss Kimberly-Lynn, Hanson, and myself, Mr. International Mandela Effect. Somebody has the thing playing in the background. There we go. That is perfect. All right, ladies. If you guys have any questions,
not playing, but my phone just started up YouTube, so we're back into the shifty. I just turned it off.
Just go out and come back again.
I'm gonna put it outside. I'm gonna put my phone outside the door. So my shifty stuff is starting.
Phones with attitude, you gotta love them. If you guys have any questions for the panel, please go ahead and put them in the chat. We have a huge conversation to get started here. But first things first, everybody's first Mandela effect. There's a lot of us in here, and I would love to know, starting with Mr. Anatra, what was the one Mandela effect that just rocked your world?
For me, undoubtedly, it was the JFK assassination. Because I knew the Zapruder film so well. I was like, whoa, it's not right. That was the one for me.
How about you, Miss Eva? What was your number one oh my God moment?
All right, I wasn't sure if you meant my first one they ever had or my biggest one. My biggest one was definitely
convinced you.
The biggest one is definitely Arctica because it was a whole continent and now it's gone.
You and I have had many discussion on Arctica, actually. I remember Arctica being there, the great big white at the top. I can't find that globe anymore.
The high cliffs, yes.
Yeah, the high cliffs, exactly. Eileen Colts, what was your big number one surprise Mandela effect?
My biggest surprise was in the mid-90s when Nelson Mandela came back to life. But I thought I was just crazy and had a bad memory. But my first Mandela effect was in 2016 when I traded in my Volkswagen and the big logo on my steering wheel had changed from having no brake to having a brake between the V and the W. So that I think I have to give them both equal credit.
That makes a lot of sense. Mine, by the way, was the Berenstein Bears. That was the first one I found, and it didn't take 10 minutes before I was convinced. I knew what that book was. I'd have put my next breath on it. Turns out I'd have not been a breathing wolf very much longer if that would have been the case. Cynthia Sue Larson, what was the Mandela? You've been at this like almost 30 years, pretty close to it.
Yeah.
What was your like big, oh my God moment 20 plus years ago that really started this for you?
This has got to go back to the 80s for me. It's going to sound crazy, but Larry Hagman for me, again, died. I think when these celebrities die and then they're alive again, it's a real head scratcher. And I know he is dead right now. So obviously people can look that up and say, no, what's the big deal? He's dead. Yes, he is now. But back in 1984, 1985, he was alive. And then he would, what happened is he died because he'd had some problems, some health problems with, internal organs. And he'd had surgery. And in the first time that I witnessed him dying, it was like, and then seeing him alive again, it was like, what is going on? And I was trying to ask people, do you notice that? Thank God for this Mandela effect community. Thank God for the internet, because back in the 80s, you have to remember, we didn't have anything like this. And my most recent mind-blowing one has got to be the kidneys. That one blows my mind. I do martial arts. I work with martial artists. I ask them, show me, where are the kidneys? They look at me like, you're crazy. We know what not to, not to do the kidney punch. And that's why I brought it up in my talk. It's a huge thing for me. And I think that the body changes are extraordinary. So we're seeing a lot of those. Geographic ones are huge. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I've been around, so I see them all the time. I can't say I see all of them. So if you say, like, have you seen every single one? No, some of them are off my radar. But I suspect I was experiencing this back when I was a child, because I hated that game Trivial Pursuit. I couldn't see why people thought it was fun. Because to them, it's like, well, you should know this trivia. And what I was noticing is things weren't staying the same. So, and I'm not a bad student. I got straight A's in school. So this is not my mental deficiency or early onset Alzheimer's as a child. Not at all.
I got to say, the body changes really bother me a lot.
Yeah.
Those are disturbing to me, mainly because I can't rationalize them like I can other things.
No.
There's just no rationalization about it, Akronos, what was your great big Mandela effect that got you into this?
Luke, I am your father. That was the one. I was a huge Star Wars fan, and when I heard that changed, I just could not believe it.
Me too. That was the second one I found after I found the Bee Bears. The same day, about 10 minutes later or so. So yeah, again, about 10 minutes is all it took for me. Shane Robinson, what was your big Mandela effect?
Well, when I finally realized it was really happening, someone had mentioned Isaiah 11:6. The lion shall lie down with the lamb was no longer that. It's now the wolf too shall dwell with the lamb. And I was like, oh, he must have got it backwards, And when I looked that up, of course, I did another search for Mandela effects. I saw that. And but even bigger than that was the thinker for me, because my mind tried to undo what I'd read. Like, are you sure you read that? But with the thinker, it was on my desk. I saw it every single day growing up throughout my childhood. There was just no doubt about it. It wasn't a memory thing. You can't forget that the fist was to the forehead. That was like the main feature that I noticed about the thinker, was the fact that his fist was to his forehead. I don't know why. I'm not sure about all the other little changes. He does look twisted to the left leg now. That seems odd, but I definitely know the fist was to the forehead.
Gotcha. Yeah, the thinker's another weird one, especially when you get the pictures of 15 or 20 people standing in front of it doing this, and then he's sitting here doing this. And I assure you that was never a joke or a thing in pop culture. So why that happened, I'll never understand. Sean Bond, what was your number one, oh my God, Mandela effect moment?
Gosh. So honestly, with you guys, I've experienced more. Shane's map that got to express the evidence, that blew my mind. I love that beyond words, so thank you. And I was just, you guys said a lot of the ones, because I started with got me Berenstein Bears, and then I went down the rabbit hole and I just kept going, and like all these things, Kit Kat, Looney Tunes got me a little bit, because I was like, whoa. And I'm still kind of going into the meaning of that, because like the difference in radio station versus cartoon, what does that mean? And then I Am Your Father. Whew. And the Monopoly Man, as an example, I'm reading into that. It's like a little bit better, because it's like a different thing with the eye going on, and it seems to be like he doesn't need the seeing glass anymore to see. But Monopoly.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. Shane's map. Man, if you guys have not watched the conference from last year, go check out Shane Robinson's talk. That map is absolutely was some of the best evidence I've seen, especially with the islands in Denmark. The fact that Denmark got quote missed because it wasn't where it is now. That is huge. So guys, go back to the last conference if you haven't already on this channel and check that out.
I did want to mention that. I
Go
did
ahead,
want to
go
mention
ahead.
really quick that at the end of this year's presentation, I showed where on the live show, 2 islands that weren't there during the live show with tons of witnesses saw that I skipped 2 islands, so they apparently weren't there at the time that I did the video. So I was able to include that in the presentation, and that's happened since the Ketchum conference, which is really
That is so
So it's
awesome.
continued to change.
yeah, it's continuing to change. It's like
Yes.
fluid, you know, it's changing all the time.
Does anyone
This
else
is-
remember New Zealand at the top or anything?
Yes, top left hand. Yes, you're one of the few people who remember that like I do.
Top right.
When the first time I ever found it was top left hand above Australia. And I've seen it dance around Australia since. Cynthia, there we go.
Yeah, I'm just agreeing. I just hold this up when I'm like, me too. That means
Oh, me too, Hart. I went to New Zealand in 1994, and Jerry, when we were there, it was top right. So that's how I know it was there then. But I could have been in a different.
I've seen that one too. Yep.
Eileen, do you ever remember New Zealand being one island?
No, I remember it being 2 because we only went to the North Island, but that was actually in.
We'll move to
1994.
You gotta
Susan never
love
got to
live
answer.
radio. Yeah, I was just about to jump on there. You gotta love live radio and TV. It's great. Or I wouldn't even say TV, live YouTube at this point. 'Cause we're
Nobody's
not on
bringing me
TV
back
yet.
anywhere with a microphone, Jerry.
Love it. Suso, Mr. Suso, what was your Mandela effect moment that you said, oh my God, this is real?
I had many. The superficial ones, the ones that really, I was looking at the Berenstain Bears and blew it off because I had no idea what a Berenstain Bear was. Yet my daughter told me I read them to her. I would have read them, but no. So they just showed up for me in 2012-ish. But then it was like Jesse Spott's channel showed Sex in the City, an interview with a vampire along with a continent changing, I believe. And that kind of got me on track. Then it was the JFK that pulled me back in. But when I realized it was time to move on, it was when I was waking up and people were different. And I was noticing people now, and I just figure, well, I just tapped into a different part of consciousness where they're just different. That's when I decided that was a big moment.
So people around you changing was the thing.
Not just around me, people here too.
Oh, okay. There you go. Noticing things in the community, people changing in the community, things like that.
Sure. Family, people around me and online. Absolutely.
We're going to have a
was a big
follow-up
thing for
question
me,
to
yeah.
that actually here in just a moment. I've got a question that's come in, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Kimberly, last but
I
not
have to feed my
least,
cats.
what was your moment that you said, yeah, there's something to this?
When I read the paper, it was a physics paper, and I tried to find the one that it was just for my own personal revisit, and I can't find it, but it mentioned the Mandela effect in a paper that I was reading, and I understood the mechanism behind how it was possible, and I had my life experience. So that's when I just Googled a list of I Googled the Mandela effect, and then I was just like, just give me a list, I'll just instinctually read each one and follow my intuition. Then I made that sub list, which I made the artwork out of. So it's those six that I chose instinctually without thinking, and I don't go back into them because my brain, I can literally feel my brain creating reasons for why they're different now. But to me, those ones are the mirror on the wall, the Berenstain Bears, Build It and He Will Come, Jif Peanut Butter. What was the other ones? Oh, Interview with a Vampire. as well. So
Box of chocolates.
Oh yeah, I love that one. Yeah. The Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates. So I just instinctually touched on them and they didn't feel quite right. Not in a bad way though, in a really like, oh, something's different. Like this is really interesting. And then I haven't thought about them again.
Gotcha. So I appreciate everybody's opening answers to the question here. We've got another one that's come in. It's a really good follow-up to what we were touching on with Suso. And I'm just going to open it up to the panel. I'm not going to go one by one. Just everybody wants to jump in. Go ahead. Have any of you also witnessed people morphing to other races or even other people? Morphing looks like plus materialization to me is slow-mo ME.
Oh, I have had that.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it. You want to start or I'll start? Well, it's not so much that I've seen them morphing into something else as just literally appearing, disappearing in real time, and then I'll look away. And actually, now that you mentioned it, it is kind of a morph. I think I have, and I've been reporting it when this happens. I put it in my Reality Shifters news. That way I've got the month, the date, the time, the description. So I've been documenting this in my own fashion before there were blogs since the 1990s. And that was the best I could do, but at least it's complete, it's consistent. So yeah, I have seen that, and it's quite startling, as well as cars. So it's like it doesn't matter what the object is, whoop, it's gone. Like I'll be driving down the freeway, I see something in the rearview mirror. I'm a good driver, so I'm aware, like, okay, that car is kind of sneaking up on me. It looks like it wants to pass. Maybe I could move over. I look back, the car is gone. There was no exit. It did not pull over. There's no time it could have done anything. Just vanished. And anyway, so I'll move it on. Yeah, Kimberly.
I haven't really spoken about this, especially not to the whole world. I had an associate of mine where we were communicating. We hadn't met one-on-one, but we were communicating via email and texting. So I knew what he looked like, but we hadn't met. And then I flew to Portland to meet him. And as I was standing there, I'm looking at his face and we're speaking, and there is a really strong connection between him and I. So it was very strange. The whole room disappeared. Everything was black, and it was just me and him. And we were speaking, and then his face began to melt. The left side of his face began to melt, and I was watching it in real time, like, because I'd not experienced that. But I don't know, I'm just a child, and it's like, whoa, weird. And I'm watching it melt, and his face turned into Quasimodo from that movie, what is it called?
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I think this is so strange. And he's still talking to me, right? And obviously, I can't imagine what face he saw of mine, because it's like, you know, it kind of stopped him from talking, and that popped us out of that moment. However, you know, we continued to talk, whatever. And then after our meeting, I got in the car and I was like, I have to watch Hunchback of Notre Dame for some reason. And so I went back to my hotel and immediately put on Hunchback of Notre Dame, because I was like, well, there's some sort of information in this movie that's pointing to something to do with that meeting that I had. Which led into very many things, which we don't have to get into. But at the moment that his face was melting and turning into Quasimodo, I had no idea why Quasimodo. I hadn't watched the movie. I don't even know if I'd ever watched the movie, in fact. It was just a character that we all kind of know. And I had to explore that storyline to understand, what does that have to do with that meeting? So that was the first time that had ever happened, and it's real.
And I'd like to also point out there was no psychotropic drugs involved.
Oh my God, no. Could you imagine me on drugs, Shane?
No, but I know our community, and I know, you know, you talk about stuff melting and they automatically think, LSD.
Oh, no.
Or something, you know.
This was a very high profile person and a very professional setting. Yes.
So to reiterate the question for those wondering where the question came from, or why it has to do with people's melting faces, the question is: have any of you also witnessed people morphing to other races or other people? Morphing plus materialization equals slow-mo ME to this particular person. So that is referenced in why this question is come up. So anybody else like to jump in?
I've
Yeah, I
noticed.
haven't seen people morph, but I have seen words morph on my phone. So, like, I was looking up Grand Central Station, that's now Grand Central Terminal. I know the station's below and the terminal's above. I get that. And I saw on my phone an advertisement for a tour. So I clicked open the tour to Grand Central Station, and it said Grand Central Station, and right in front of my eyes, it morphed into terminal. And I'm like, whoa, that is like seeing a Mandela effect in operation, like the moment it occurs. Even though the actual Mandela effect occurred a long time ago, I saw it morph on my phone. And now I've seen words morphing at least 2 times into an ME. And I don't know what's causing that, but it's kind of cool.
I think that's almost how Regina was explaining her experience with the portrait of Dorian Gray and the picture of Dorian Gray. So
Yes.
in that moment, she was able to find what her heart was wishing for, and then it was like, whoop, into, wait, where did it go? Where did it go? Yeah.
I'd also like to mention that Jinx Cat YouTuber had talked about someone, because people would send her their stories, and they spoke of seeing people morph right in front of them, like sitting in their car and they see it morph. So that might be a place to look for further information on that.
To me, from my experience, it was the present moment giving information of a future event. That proved itself absolutely true. So.
And I've seen eye color change, but we should go to Suso because he had something.
I was just going to bring it up to and where I've known people for 20 years in Atlantic City, and they would, I'd get a Facebook text that they passed, and now they're trying to friend me a couple weeks later. Danny and Brinkley is another one. He, if you're not aware of him, how would you describe Danny and Brinkley, Cynthia?
He's very gregarious. Uh-oh, I'm echoing. Can you?
Hey, Suso, go ahead and pause or mute out for just a second. There's an echo that comes through that when we.
For me?
Yeah.
How do you mute?
All right, go ahead, Cynthia.
Okay, yes, he's very gregarious, outgoing, friendly. He's kind of a bear hug kind of a guy. That's how I describe him. Big,
ahead,
tall
Suso.
guy.
Yeah, that's good. He's a psychic and has, claimed to. He's passed several times and been back and has seen the other
Hit by
side.
lightning.
And, struck by lightning and survived in it. So I was speaking with him, I believe it was in 06, and then in 09, I actually met him in New York. And then in 09, I got a email from his wife who said he passed. He went home, celebrate. He's where he wanted to be. He always wanted to go home. And in 2011, I am panning. I get a message on the computer somewhere that says Danyan speaking at Mile High Stadium, which was exactly a mile from me. And now the thing was, I walked, and during the walk, I was experiencing Mandela effect after Mandela effect. This is the part of the book, and I don't know if I put it together in the book, but this is where I almost, the Pepsi truck just drove right in front of me. And I'm like, whoa, they must have changed their emblem and apparently the way it is now is the way it's always been. And that's not the way it was for me. The word, there was the Fa. I passed the Fa place. Didn't think nothing of it, just a different Asian restaurant, whatever. Those things didn't exist for me. What else? Just the whole walk there. Then I get there and Danny canceled. and I'm like, what was the message here? I sat down with some guy and I'm like, yeah, he's telling me stuff, and I'm like, yo, but you don't understand. I'm not real anymore. And I said that to him, and he looked at me and he went, then you don't need me. I'm like, okay. And I walked out of there. But I was trying to figure out, why was I told about all that? Well, because I got a message that he passed, and now I'm being told he's alive. That was a big one for me. But as far as morphing, other people people look different now, but it's not like I see them every day. I mean, really different sometimes. And there's people even in town that I don't see for a week, and I'm like, wow, you changed. And I just kind of smile, laugh it off. I don't say anything. My conspiracy mind goes to work right away, and I'm like, all right. No paranoia. Just, I laugh it off and be on my way.
Gotcha. I had an experience myself. Anthony, can I have you go ahead and mute one more time for me, please? Appreciate you, Bubba. I had an experience in 2008, actually. And my circle of friends, people that I'd known pretty much my whole life. Those people that better than they know themselves. Yeah. So we're sitting around a parking lot or standing around a parking lot one day talking about what we're about to go do, figure out what our next move is. And all of a sudden, as I'm standing here listening to the conversation, I'm realizing this isn't right. All of my circle of friends have played musical personalities overnight. The gossiper's the good person. The good person's the gossiper. The butthead's the good guy. The good guy's the butthead. Everybody has swapped personalities, and I can't explain it. Well, about a year later, one of the people who had been involved in the original personality swap come to me and goes, hey, man, can I talk to you a minute? Well, of course. It's weird. It's like all of our friends, our circle of friends, they're the same people, but they're different. Oh, my goodness, I've been telling you this for a year. So, yeah, that was my experience with people changing around me. Anybody else want to chime in on this before we move to the next question?
Well, I made a quick comment about eye color. That's one I haven't seen real time, but I do see it where people's eyes seem to be moving toward blue, and that's something. I think Christopher Anatra mentioned that last year. He's done a video on it, so we've
follow that up. Yeah. To follow that up, we do have a question. Specifically to Cynthia, this particular one is, can you speak more of eye color changes? Have you witnessed human eye changes to animal or ET eyes?
Oh, I haven't seen that. That sounds very strange. So far, I've just noticed just regular eye color changes, like a friend who has sort of hazel eyes. Now the eyes turning blue. That I have seen. Not all at once when I'm looking at them. Not like a real-time morph, but over time. I have not seen animal eyes on people. I've heard about it, but I've never seen it. So it's an interesting.
I've seen some really cool contact lenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm not counting costumes, but
I had a buddy who used to. I had a buddy who used to come to work all the time. Had the eye cat eye lenses in all the time. It looked weird as could be.
I want to call on my good friend Eva here, who's here, because she had an interesting experience with that mask and a snout. So if people missed that, do you want to riff off that, Eva?
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna just say that first of all, that in my old timeline, I was always read that eye color doesn't change. You have the same eye color forever, and that if you had hazel eyes, the lighting might make it appear to change, but it never did. And now they do say that your eyes can change. I have hazel eyes, so I've been tracking this. So that's a fact of the current timeline. That's different. That your eyes can change over time for all different reasons.
Wow.
And if you look, you'll see that there's a lot more of people with 2 color eyes and even multiple colors within one eye, and it's natural, and they have all these terms for it. Okay, so what you're talking about is actually this weird experience I had once, and I kind of think of it more as maybe like an NPC kind of thing, but I don't know. But basically, I was going to pickleball, which I play, and I drove It's kind of a little bit of a rural road, so you don't usually see a lot of people on it. But there was a jogger on there that had, and this is long before COVID, this is like 2 years ago, had this respirator thing on. And it was weird because I'd never seen anyone jog with a respirator thing, and it had kind of like this, it was like snout-like. It just stuck out so far. And I'm like, that guy looks like he's got a snout face. And right when I was thinking that guy looks really weird, in my head, I was, oh, it's just a respirator. And I kind of dismissed it. And that was weird because it just popped into my head. And I'm like, I don't know anything about anybody jogging with respirators. I've never even heard of it. Nobody does. It's rural. We don't have a bunch of cars everywhere. There'd be no reason to worry about smog, away from the main roads. So the whole thing was weird. And then I just dismissed it, and I drove on. And I was going to meet people for pickleball, but when I got there, I realized they canceled. And I actually waited around for like 15 or 20 minutes just in case somebody showed up anyways, because sometimes you get lucky. But it didn't happen. So I get back in my car and I leave, and the guy is in the same place. Now, he's supposed to be jogging, so he should have, moved quite a number of blocks, and I was like, what, that guy is still there, now I'm like, no, now you can't make me think that that's, and I already knew about the Mandela, so I was already more suspicious about reality at that point. So I drive past him. I'm like, wait a minute. So I drive down to the end of the road, and it's just like a few hundred feet, and I flip a U-E because there's like no cars. And I drive back up there. I'm going to get a better look at this dude, right? So I drive back up there, and he's gone. And there's not really a lot of houses around there. So like, where did he even go? And then there were like 5 or 6 other joggers there, like other people. And I'm like, where did all these joggers come from? Because there's never any joggers on that road. I mean, once in a while you see a dog walker, but I don't think I've ever even seen, like, what, there's 5 or 6 of them now? Where did they come from? They weren't here just a minute ago. So then I'm driving on. I'm like, okay, I'm going to flip another U-E, and I come back, and then now there's just one jogger there, and not the guy. And I'm just like, this is a trip. So I don't know. I always just thought it was really weird with that snout thing. So I actually went home and I looked up the respirators, and I couldn't find anything that looked like that at the time, not sticking out that far. So it was just a really weird experience. I really don't know what to say about it, but I do think about it a lot now with everybody wearing the masks. I'm like, those snout people can come now and nobody will think anything of it. I don't know what to think of it. So that's my really weird story. One of them.
I love it. I absolutely love the stories that have come out back here already, especially Eva's story. She, on her channel, she tells some really, really interesting ones. You guys haven't checked her channel yet, please do that. For those that don't know, Eva's channel is Once Upon a Timeline. Panel, does anybody have any personal MEs, and what are they?
Someone stole the 2 back tires on my car, but it wasn't theft. I actually paid my guy at Tires Plus to put on 4 new tires. The old ones were Goodyear and they were really worn out. And they were there for a couple of months. And then I went in for an oil change, and the guy said, you really need to change those back tires to match your front tires. And I went, are you kidding me? And I looked, and my Goodyear old worn out tires were on the back and my new ones were on the front. And interestingly, because they were so expensive, that's how I had them put on. I went in 1 month and I had the 2 front tires put on. Then I drove back the next month and had the 2 new back tires put on. Then 3 months later, I went in for an oil change, and the old back tires had reappeared. So I called the manager out. His name was Paul. And I said, Paul, what is going on here? I said, I can't explain it. Can you? And I'm like, does he know anything about Mandela effect? And the look on his face, he was so confused because you could see it was the old tires reappearing, not just some random tires going on my back car while somebody stole my new tires. So he actually said, look, I don't know what happened to your new tires. I remember putting them on. He said, I'm going to give you 1 free one today if you'll buy the other one. So I did. I actually wound up paying for an extra tire. And then we looked in the computer. And the day that I came in and paid for the 2 back tires to go on was gone. He had no record of it in his computer. So it had never happened. I never went in and got those back tires replaced, but I remembered it and he remembered it.
You got to make that work the opposite way for you.
No. Somebody asked me, did you get charged? So I looked and it wasn't on my statement because I had a Tires Plus credit card at the time. So it vanished from my car, the manager's computer, and my credit card statement.
So you got 3 tires or 4 tires for the price of 3 at the end of it all, correct?
At the end of it, that's a good way of looking at
there
it.
you go.
Right.
Yeah, Shane.
Yes, Shane.
They were on sale for the universe. 3
Exactly.
for 4 or 4 for 3.
I've got a personal Mandela effect tire story also. I've got so many personal stories, it's crazy. But this one is interesting because I was in a very blissed out, prayerful state when it happened. And then something started to seem like it was going wrong. I was driving my car to an appointment, and I'd just been praying. So I was in a state of divine bliss, directly connecting with the divine, with God, and really just encouraging and inviting to find out how good this day can get, when I heard and felt that I had a flat tire. I'm driving about just a normal speed on a regular city suburban road, maybe 15 miles an hour. I hear a sort of not exactly a bang, but sort of a bump, a sudden noise, and then up, that noise that you get when the tire is making that, and the steering is getting slugged and muddy and pulling to the right. I can tell, I know what tire it is because of the sound, because of the feeling, because of the way it's driving, all of that. So I pull over and I think, wow, that's kind of weird. I'm praying and this happens, but it's okay. I'm still going with it, keeping that high vibe and feeling. Get out of the car, walk around, look at it. I've parked now. And there is no flat tire. The tire looks fine, which is very confusing. And now I've got cognitive dissonance going on because what I heard, what I felt, what happened, and what I'm seeing don't match. So I go back and sit in the driver's seat, but I can't start the car. I'm going to, but then I can't because I know I have a flat tire. So I get out again, go and look at it again. I actually kick the tire because I don't even know now I know why people might do that. I've never done that before. And then I think, well, I'm late. I know what I'll do. I'll drive slowly. So if it is flat, I'll be able to pull over easily again. Won't disrupt traffic. So I go about 5 miles an hour. There's no feeling of sluggishness. It's not pulling to the right. Everything's fine. To go to where I'm going, park, get out, look at the tire, it's fine. Go to my appointment, come back, look at the tire, it's fine. Go home, look at the tire, it's fine. Tell my husband, you know what? Now, he used to be a mechanic, so I said, could you please, I don't give him any hints, could you take a look at the tire pressure in the car? I don't say why, because just I think something might be off. That's all I say. He comes back in and he said, well, you're right. The tires were low tire pressure on 3 of those tires. 1 was perfect. And I said, which one was perfect? And you got it. He said it was the right front tire. So I feel like God fixed my tire. And that's what was happening in that weird moment. And I've never seen anything that was so amazing. So you can sometimes have things go really well.
I love that story.
There's a meditation that I do. It's a guided meditation. And the goal of it is to feel the reality that you're in, and then return to the void, and then choose a new reality while you're in the void, and bring yourself into the body in that reality. And I love that meditation because it's so clean, it's really efficient, and it's just amazing. Anyway, so in the art studio, there's a really big fridge, and it has an ice maker in it. And it started making this noise, like a really grinding, horrible noise. And I was really I'll use the word busy at the time. So I didn't feel like having someone, like a maintenance guy, come in, check out the fridge, be like, this is blah, 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 whatever. So I was just going to will myself into a different, there is a reality where that fridge is fine. And that sound would go on and off and on and off, right? So throughout the day, when the fridge wasn't making any noise, oh, sweet. And then it was the worst noise. It was so frustrating. Anyway, so this was about 3 weeks it was doing that. And I was adamant. I get really stubborn. You know, in the in the presentation last year at Ketchum, like the pen. No, I'm not going to buy a new pen. Like this is multiple realities is real. There's infinity, you know. So with the fridge, I was just like, we're doing this. I'm not calling a maintenance guy. And then I'd gone away for a couple of months researching something, and I came back to the studio, still making the sound. And I was making, it was my first day back, and the fridge was quiet. And I was like, oh, we did it. And I'm making a coffee. And just as I'm thinking like, oh, we did it, the fridge goes, grrr, grrr. It's like grinding nice. And I look at it and I'm like, I'm going to put you into a meditation. And I screamed it at it. And it was like, that's it. I'm putting you into that meditation. And it stopped. Like immediately. It was like, burp. And then I just started laughing. Like, what? And then it's never made a noise since then. That was a really, really funny one. It just made me start, because it was just in that moment where I was like, I'm going to put you in a meditation. And then, whoop. So it can be that fast. And it's never made a noise since.
I was at work and I was working at an air conditioner factory, whom I probably should not name. But my job was to do the, what's the word for the insulation on the bottom of the air conditioner. So in this job, you have all these different sizes of insulation sheets. You got to go grab them for each unit that comes up, make sure it fits, all this. So I'm back there and I've opened a pack. I've grabbed a brand new one out the top. I go ahead, do everything, lay it on my board, put it on the bottom of the base. So the next one comes up. I go to the back. This is one we use on every single unit we do. So I go back. I go to grab another one out of the pack. The pack has not been opened. I personally had opened it and removed one, but the pack is sitting right where it was, unopened, nothing removed, nothing missing. I don't know how that happened. It's the closest I've ever come to a personal ME. I don't have a whole lot of those, and I try not to jump to ME. That's one of those things that I'll just, if I have no other explanation whatsoever, must be the Mandela effect. This was one of those moments. Logic went out the window, and I only had the Mandela effect left. Anybody else have a personal ME?
Yeah. Same way with the map that I created. The artwork, that the guide map changed right underneath it, and now my artwork no longer lines up with it. So
I love how you found that out between these two conferences, and you've got witnesses. A lot of us who are here right now were with you in November in Ketchum when you were. I noticed how detail oriented you are. You're pointing at every single piece of land. And it didn't seem tedious. It seems thorough. And now, thank goodness you did that, because now, wow.
It's awesome.
I was going to add too that I'm seeing a lot of them more and more, especially on this specific route that I drive every day, at least twice a day. They're getting more and more strange, because where the ocean was and where the water came in and the level of the tides and everything is like more and more different. I'm spotting new houses. I'm like, that house was never there before. Or that house is like really dilapidated. Or boy, did they just reside that whole house the other day? It went from one color to an entirely different kind of color. So for me, a lot of these things have been like really amplifying a lot. So the personal Mandela effects, those are the ones that get you for sure.
I actually have one that is more recent. There's all of these things that you're saying with the houses and the roads and stuff. I've definitely noticed a lot of those for quite a number of years. But a very recent one is there's this twisty turny road shortcut that I used to take all the time. And I went on that a couple weeks ago, and it had been a while. And just be careful if you haven't been on your twisty turny road, because there was a big old hairpin turn that had shown up, and I was like cruising really fast, and because I thought I knew the turns. So that was a little surprising. Drive a little slower on your twisty roads.
Have any of you been an ME to somebody? Has anyone ever, and I've had this told to me a couple of times, and I know at least one person on the panel has. Has anyone, and I'm going with Cynthia first, had anyone come up and told them, man, before 2 weeks ago, you never existed to me, or before a month ago, you never existed to me? Has anybody had that happen, starting with Cynthia?
Yes, I absolutely have. I've had that kind. I've had lots of varieties of this. Thanks to having been a researcher in the field for a couple of decades. So one thing that came up was people remembering that I had given talks at UC Berkeley. I was so shy when I was in that physics program. I can assure you, in my history, I never did that. But they would describe the exact place, the building, and it seemed possible. So I realized, okay, this did happen for them. I was giving some sort of talk on campus, which I sure don't remember. But even weirder than that is where people would say, you never existed, and I know for sure. And I had people that professed to be time travel researchers working for the US government that told me that. And I thought that was really interesting, that they were telling me that if that sort of thing happens to you, well, for me, I'm not going to pursue those leads because that's like touching a hornet's nest, possibly. So I just let them contact me. I take what they give me. That's interesting. The weird thing was just 3 different ones saying that at the same time. I thought that was fascinating. But I think the biggest one of all has got to be a couple of years ago, where somebody just contacted me and said, I don't know how to tell you this, but I remember that you died. That is a little awkward when you're getting to know someone. And I had never emailed this person before, but fortunately he was writing to me. So I just asked details. How did I die? When was it? What was the nature of it? And I talked about this earlier in this conference, so I won't go on long about it, but it was amazingly accurate. It just totally fit. So it was perfect. Yeah. In other words, it was believable. And there were other witnesses that remembered that too. But fortunately for me, I'm here. So in those, it didn't seem like too many people remembered. I put it out to my entire community. Only got about 5 or 6 people that came back. Some of them remembered Moneybags had done a tribute because we had been together on Taryn Lupo's show back when Taryn was doing Mandela effect videos. This goes back a few years.
Does Moneybags remember making that for you?
No.
Oh.
But he doesn't remember being Moneybag 76 either. So that's the way this tends to work.
I became Mandela affected about a month ago, first with Jen's Gems, which is interesting because her name was Mandela affected for me. And then she mentioned it during this conference, and all these people chimed in the chat going, yes, I remember Eileen being one, and then one Eileen Colt. So for a lot of people in the IMEC chat room, the S is new. And I'm like, wow, okay. For me, it's always been there.
I've seen quite a few names on YouTube change. Actually, one while I was watching the program, it was Brian Stavely. His show was called A Dose of Reality. And then it changed to The Dose of Reality. And since I've spoken with him about that, it's just Dose of Reality. And I'm pretty sure he says it was always Dose of Reality. Besides seeing his episode change.
I remember A also.
Yeah, and I thought A Dose of Reality. I thought, wow, okay, because it just, to me, it struck me, and I just caught that. Yeah. And when it went from A to The, and while the show, I mean, I scrolled up, scrolled down, and it was that quick, and I was like, what? And I started in chat, and I'm telling people, and half the people were saying yeah, and the other half were saying no, and I was like, well, that's typical. But quite a few times. Moneybags, he was Moneybag 73 with 2 G's on the Moneybags part. It was 2 G's for me. And I have a trigger with that because it was an old band I was in called Jet Lag with 2 G's. So I put that together. As soon as I saw the 2 G's, I thought, oh, wow, cool. Just like Jet Lag. And apparently it's never been that way.
Yeah, for me, he was Moneybag 76 also, but not with 2 G's. But also his videos and what he talked about, he was just a lot less into the esoteric, that version of him. He was very much just, he was a financial guy, and then he learned about the Mandela effect. And that was his kind of first exposure into the esoteric. So he didn't have a lot of the knowledge that this timeline him has. And if I went back and watched some of his old videos, and they're quite different now because he goes in this and this and this and this about all this esoteric.
My own videos are different when I go back and watch them. My own videos are, the only reason I did the second video was because I didn't think I said the stuff I wanted to say. I watched it over and over. I went, oh, I missed that. did a second video, and now all the information's in the very first video.
Yeah.
I
So
never
the
had
other
to-
one,
Let me jump in here. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll do a quick one. And there is one where I really am on the inside of an Emmy, and that's people who are on Retcon. About 2 years ago, a lot of them said that my login name changed, and it's Looney Gecko. And originally, they remember it with a Looney, and it's for me always been Loony. So the E disappeared, and a big bunch of people swore that my login name changed. And one thing about Reddit is you can't change your name like you can on YouTube, but you can. And I'm not accusing people of doing it on YouTube, but you can't on Reddit. You have to start a whole new account would be your only way.
Yeah.
So it'd be impossible for me to change it. But what's interesting is that there'll be little batches. The majority was a few years ago, but there's like these batches of people who come in and just say, oh, your name just changed. It was different last week. And there'll be like 2 or 3 or 4 here, and then there'll be a space, and then, in just a couple of weeks. So I think that, for me, it marks kind of like a shifty time when a bunch of people come in saying, oh, your login name changed. Oh. And for me,
that might very well be marking a shift, actually. So I'm going to go down the line real quick before we pop back to this question. I just want to know what you guys remember, 73 or 76? That's the only answer, 73 or 76. Eva?
76.
Cynthia?
73.
Akronos?
76.
Sean?
76.
Suso? You are muted, Bubba.
73.
3. Shane?
Yeah, 73, always 73 for me.
Anatra?
I don't even know. 76 seems right, but 73. So I'm kind of confused on that whole one. So it didn't make enough of an impact, but I'm going to go with 73.
73, Eileen?
I have a dual memory. I remember him being 76 and now being 73. And when I think of 76, my brain goes, no, it's 73. So I'm kind of holding them in both places right now.
That's what I do with all of them.
And Kimberly.
I just met him.
That's an honest answer.
I wasn't even sure there was a number after. I just remember Moneybags.
So I will tell you, I had an experience with Mr. Moneybags. As you know, him and I are pretty good friends. We actually have a lot of one-on-one conversations. Really amazing guy. So I speak about the flip-flops a lot. And a lot of you in this channel, even I'm sure in this chat, remember the Victoria's Secret flip-flop. So Victoria's Secret had lost the apostrophe S. Moneybags made a video, as well as a guy named Life Matrix, backing up Moneybags. I said, no, guys, I don't think this is right. The next word starts with an S. It's apostrophe S at the end of the last one. I think you might be drawing straws here. I don't know. I'm going to call it shenanigans on this one. Never made a video, but in my head, I call it shenanigans. 2 weeks later, the apostrophe S comes back. In my memory, Moneybags makes a video astonished that the apostrophe S has returned. However, I think that was the last time I seen Moneybags 76. Because after that, the Moneybags now, in the video you go back and find now, says, oh my goodness, Victoria's Secret has gained an apostrophe S. That's not the video I remember Moneybags ever making. And I've spoken to him directly about this. To be clear, he doesn't remember making that video. He doesn't even remember the flip-flop occurring. So I would honestly stand and saying, I met 76. I know 73. Has anybody else been accused of being a ME to someone that they swore you never existed before or when they were studying Mandela effect till recently?
I've had people tell me that I had 3 cats on my videos. One was orange. I said, oh, well, that would be Jinx, but that I had him when I was a kid. And they're like, yeah, it was an orange cat. And a black cat would wrap itself around your neck. And I'm like, well, that would be Inky. I had him, 30 years ago. But I only have these 2 cats, and neither of them are doing those things. And people have said, maybe not 3 cats, but they've asked me, don't you have more cats? And I'm like, I love cats, but the 2's enough.
Do you
But I've
still
had
have the black cat?
Prince, yeah, the one that got lost. And I called up Marianne, the psychic, and 4 days later, she told me, your cat is next door in the basement, and he will not come the way I keep telling him to go home the way he came. He will not do it. And I'm like, well, are you kidding me? And she told me exactly what to do, and went into the place, sat down, and I was sitting there just waiting. And I finally called her. I said, look, Marianne, I'm not hearing anything or nothing. She goes, oh, no. And I hear meow. And I walk all the way in the back. He's down in the basement. He comes up. I gave him the food that I had, picked him up. Of course, I ran him through the barn upstairs. 4 days he was gone. She knew exactly where he was. Instant. I don't know why I didn't call her right away. How'd I get on that? Oh, the cat.
Because I kept seeing your black cat,
Yeah.
and you said your black cat was from your past, and I was like, am I seeing a black cat near Suso from his past, or is it present? And so it is. Prince is present.
Prince is present. He's black and white. But yeah, but they've changed. Even when that happened, and I was talking with Marianne later, she kept laughing at me, going, "Wow, you get this! Ha ha ha! Wow, you get this!" Because she's, a little giddy, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not the same cat. Like Prince came back different, okay, and he picked up, and it's fine. It didn't matter. Is it still his consciousness? Was it just me that shifted? Was it him that shifted? She's like, no, you get it, but you're getting it too much now. Just, it doesn't, you're going too deep. And I'm like, that's me. I break everything down as far as I can. That's what I do. And she's like, it's not the same cat, but it doesn't matter. Do you know how many times I'll be sitting here and I see Prince over here and I'll hear him meow outside? I mean, I guess you don't, because I've never even mentioned that in a video. That kind of weirds me out sometimes, because I'll go out there to look. I'm like, look, if I end up with 2 black and white cats, that's going to freak me out. I mean, really, would it though? I mean, the stuff that's happened to me, I'm so sorry.
Heard that story online of that person that lost a cat and they ended up coming back, and then another one came back that looks exactly like them? Now they have 2 cats?
I had that happen this week. So not with the cat. So this is really exciting. I can understand why it happened now. Okay, so I'm currently in the nonlinear lifestyle writing a chapter called Understanding Infinity. And I've always had this one ruler that I've been using since I started tattooing like 15 years ago. And it's the perfect width and it's the perfect everything for a specific job that I use for tattooing. And so it's always really important to me, or special to me, because this ruler does this job really efficiently. And if I got a different ruler, it just wouldn't work as well. So I've always kept my knowing of like where that ruler is, and I'll use it for other jobs outside of tattooing, and I'll just leave it like in the workshop somewhere, which annoys me because I'm like, when you need it, you need it. Keep it in the same spot. So it's this thing with me knowing that there's only one of this ruler. So this week in the studio, I was up at like 3:30 in the morning, and I was writing Understanding Infinity. And then I got inspired to create this artwork. So I was in the studio creating some artwork, and it was so early in the morning, and I didn't want to use my compressor. So I normally have my staple gun attached to a compressor. Everybody knows what that is, right? Yeah, compressor, and it makes a lot of noise. So I was like, I really need to use my staple gun. I think I have a hand stapler somewhere. So I went to go look for it. I found my hand stapler, and I did it, put in 2 staples, and then it ran out of staples. And I was like, where are the staples for that hand one? Because it has different staples than the one I use for the compressor. And then I remembered, oh man, I threw out all of those staples because I have a bunch of random boxes of staples. And I kept trying to make them fit in with the compressor because that's the one I always use. And I would run through the state. And I finally was like, I'm going to throw away all the staples that aren't for the compressor. And so I did that months ago. And now I've needed the staples that I threw away for this hand one. And I was like, shit, I threw them away. And I remember the memory. And I look in the drawer, there's only the one box of staples. And then I remember the pen from last presentation. And I was like, dude, those staples are everywhere. They're everywhere. And then I'm remembering like, I'm writing about infinity right now. That means that box of staples that I remember throwing out is actually everywhere. Let's play. So I started just kind of cleaning up the workshop and then envisioning, seeing the box everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And I'm cleaning. Oh, what do I find? My ruler, my perfect ruler. It's in the workshop. What? Go put it back in with the tattoo stuff. So I take that ruler and I go and I put it in the tattoo stuff. And then I go back into the studio and I'm like stapling, looking for the staples that are everywhere. And looking, what? I see the ruler again. And I was like, what? I just, like 10 minutes before, already saw the ruler and I put it back with the tattoo stuff. I'm like, did I just have a memory from the future that I found it and now it's here again and now I have to go put it back? I was like, So I pick up the ruler again and I go to the tattoo stuff, open the drawer, put the ruler back where it's supposed to go. There's another ruler there. Now I have two.
Is that superposition?
Let me show you. Hold on, let me show you.
When the universe gives you a freebie, right?
Are you guys ready for this?
Implications of
Ready.
There's a surprise.
What's that, Sean?
Okay, now there's two. I always only had one. Infinity. Okay, here's the best part,
cool.
which I didn't realize this until obviously I took a photo of them two together. And I send it to my friend. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I don't care if you're asleep. The most amazing thing just happened. So I sent a picture of her with the two rulers. And later on in the day, I go to look at the photo again. And I realize, what does it say on every stapler? Staples. I mean, on each ruler, it says staples. And I was looking for staples. Isn't that amazing?
Awesome.
And I ended up finding the staples. A box of the staples as well.
Can't make this stuff up.
What do you think the implications of that are?
Infinity.
Yeah, like is it like the duplication of the very definition of the hologram, a light that splits infinitely? And like I go into that a lot of the Mandela users are either miracle oriented, time manifestation programmers, or like foundational energy. You're very miracle oriented.
I love miracles. I like all of those other things you mentioned as well. But so I can explain to you the information that I was writing in the morning was understanding infinity, that there are infinite amounts of everything. And for some reason, we've been trained to think that there's only one of this, that this is very rare. And in fact, they exist everywhere. Everywhere you can look, there's one of these. And so if you can train your spirit and your mind to understand that they can appear everywhere, should you think it would be fun, that they would. And then that's how that's how I was given the information that nothing is rare. Nothing is rare, and every single thing comes in an abundant form. And hi. I just couldn't believe it. You're muted, Cynthia.
What state of mind were you in and emotions?
Well, that's like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the studio working on artwork. It's very euphoric. The music's playing.
Did you say that superposition? The two rulers?
Cynthia?
Well, it's a little bit different than that. It's kind of like just like I've had literally miracles of food appearing when I didn't have them. I've written about it, like an entire carton of milk. I could hear it land inside the refrigerator. I've had real time, like blow your mind, blow your socks off, like food miracles. And I told you the tire experience. There's so many of them. So to me, it's like no problem getting in. It's not like duplicating it exactly. You didn't mention if they're identical. I wouldn't expect they would be. I would expect
they're not
see differences.
Yeah, they're not identical. Like this one has a mark on the front and this one has a mark on the back.
That's what I would expect. Yeah.
They have the similar, like the same turned up edge.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting. So there are similar qualities and they've had different experiences.
They've had different experiences, but they might be similarly started or initiated. Well, just like quantum physics denies a single history, I think it's possible to, in my talk or afterwards, I was talking about the reflective cognitive facility that we humans have. So we've got our initial perception of something, then you've got the first order awareness of that perception. And what we're really experiencing now in this, congratulations, humanity, you've made it, is we've really gotten to another level yet of, this is from the work of Leibniz, who created calculus. So when you do a second order perception and a third order, that's where we are right now. That's the phase we're at right now. So we're gaining some dimensions of perceptual acuity is what I would say.
I very, very much understand, especially after the pen experience, that a memory is only one option out of infinity. So, for me to remember that I threw out the staples I needed and to hold on to that one option as the only reality was limiting me from having fun in the present moment. So I'm able to understand that, that memory is only one of infinity. And not that I discount it, it's that in that moment, if I needed another box to appear, that I account for the memory and for infinity.
I got a physicist to appear. And, when you get a person to show up out of nowhere, that I think is the coolest of all. And that's Yasunori Nomura. I've talked about it before, so I don't want to repeat myself. That's the thing when you've done research in a field for this many years. But I've done videos and I've blogged about it and wrote articles about it. And then when I met him and I told him to his face, you did not exist for me previously. But I really needed to meet someone who was involved with both the physics of the very small and the very large, which he is, and just get his viewpoint on basically this Mandela effect. He was very interested. So that's off the record. So I don't think we'll ever expect him to say anything publicly because there's still a stigma associated with this topic, which is why I give people the option to use, pseudonyms if they wish to. But Jerry, you had a great question, and this is part of my answer to it. Have we noticed someone come in that wasn't there before? Absolutely. For me, that was Yasunori Nomura, but also Dolores Cannon. And I've spoken about both of these. And that's why I wanted to turn it over to Eva Nye, because she remembers that I didn't used to exist for her. And I think this is really interesting. So.
Yeah, you kind of just showed up suddenly. I don't know, was it maybe 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago? And I thought you were new, like, oh, there's this new person named Cynthia, and then everybody's like, oh no, she's the oldest one. But for me, no, I looked at all of the people when I first learned of the Mandela 4 years ago, and I watched really diligently. For a year, I would check every video that was new, and it was easier to find stuff on YouTube back then too. Literally every video every day, and sometimes twice a day to see the latest video. So I don't think I would have missed. And I watched all the video, I'd watch the whole video for almost everybody. So yeah, you just kind of showed up, and then around then some people remembered that you had died, and for me, you didn't exist. So I guess I think that's better somehow than having died, I don't know.
Right.
So, yeah. I've been suspicious about Dolores Cannon too, because I did check a lot of that Seth Speaks kind of stuff back then. And then I found about her 4 years ago, but I'm thinking that she probably wasn't there 20 years ago for me.
Dying ain't so bad. Come on.
I don't know. It's just cultural programming, just you haven't gotten rid of all of it,
You don't really die.
You were there
maybe,
before,
whatever.
kind of. I think I might have died a few times, but I'm not sure. I think I might have died last year, maybe, but I got really sick, and then I had this episode where I just felt really, really good. Like I'm supposed to be really sick, and I just felt like perfect, and like all the weather and everything felt perfect. And I was laying there for hours going, this is weird because I feel so good and like better than when I'm healthy, but I was kind of just laying there with my brain out. So I don't know if my brain just kind of disassociated a little, but it was weird. Oh, I don't know. Not sure on that one. I had a weird dream then that I was trying to escape like the buildings and the structures. And like, I almost did it. I almost broke through, but I couldn't quite do it. So I do kind of wonder.
Break on through to the other side.
Yeah, it was really weird because there's like two me's. There was the me in the game, and then there was another me on the other side going, get out quick. If you could get out quick, you could get out, and then that other me was getting mad at the me getting out because I was taking too long. So I don't know. It was weird. And I didn't get out, obviously.
One thing I'd like to step back to really quick was the food multiplication and the fact that Jesus performed miracles like that. And then he said there would come a time when we would perform miracles like that. And I think that's really pointing to now, and that we can.
John
really
14:12. You'll never get me to quote the Bible. Okay. I'm just saying, John 14:12.
Right.
I got to go get something to eat. So I'm going to jump out of here. Maybe somebody else can get in. I want to say, Kimberly, I love you. Thank you very much for getting me involved in this.
I love you, Suso.
It's great seeing all of you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming, Suso. I'm so
pleasure.
glad you came.
Suso,
did you get my email that said Kimberly's looking for you? Where the heck are you?
Not yet. I guess I'll get it soon.
She kept popping in the chat during the week going, where's Suso? And we'd be like, where is he?
Yeah, we kept looking for you.
I was staying behind the curtain. Who is behind the curtain over? Who are I know Bet Heather's one of them.
It's Suso.
It's Suso for me.
We have two Heathers.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. And I figured it was Chris or Kim, but because they weren't there on screen, I'm like, it's got to be one of them.
Oh, you just don't have it on grid mode, probably.
Gotcha. Suso, it is a amazing surprise to have you here, my friend. Always.
It wasn't my surprise. It was
pleasure.
Kim's surprise, wherever she's at on
Well,
the screen.
you both surprised me. So, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Santasuso, also known as Suso.
Suso!
See you guys. Thank you.
And I've had the time of my
life.
Oh, we are definitely demonetized on this one.
You can sing your own as long as you don't sound exactly like somebody else.
Right.
I've heard him shut it down for reciting the words.
Well, what we're working in right now, Jerry, is called art. And what we've done is appropriate it to give it a modern meaning.
Yeah,
there
technically
we go.
That's allowed, but sometimes you get tagged anyway.
Not this time.
Not this time. And I wanted to quote John 14:12 because I do think it's interesting from the KJV version. It's verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. So I think that one's really interesting. And I don't remember anything like that being in there. Those are the kind of things I used to hunt for. So I can't swear. I'm not a Bible expert, but I am very suspicious of that one.
There's another one. There's another one by Paul that says
suspicion and curiosity.
Probably curiosity would be something I'd follow to figure out if it was if there was a route that I could discover, but I don't really see one. So you just have to let it sit on the fence. I don't know. Interesting.
I think you just broke my brain with that question.
And so you use the word suspicious. And what would the difference between suspicion and curiosity be?
Curiosity would be something that I could follow and find out more information. But suspicion is something where I'm kind of stumped. I don't see how I could figure out if it was in there or not. That's the difference.
Ah.
You can act on curiosity by getting more information, but
You
suspicion.
could, do you think you could ask for more information from?
I don't know how. I have yet to find if I were able to find a way to know if something was a Mandela effect or not, other than just memory, that would be pretty cool.
Cool. Ask yourself. Ask the future you who already knows.
Or anybody else can find it too. I really don't care. We all want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
There's another old slogan.
I wonder if it's still there. We should check it after the show.
Right? But the other one was
So-
Paul saying that Jesus was the firstborn of many brothers. So that kind of supports the same idea too, that he was just the first and we would see many more, doing the things he did. So
Speaking of Jesus, so here's something funny. Obviously, the last presentation for Ketchum, this rabbit kept coming to me, and I didn't know why that he wanted to be in the presentation. And it wasn't until like the very last second that, Einstein Schrodinger cat box rabbit came to me, right? So I kept seeing a rabbit for a week leading up to it. And obviously is very symbolic to me now. And then yesterday, my friend called me and was like, I need you to come to my house right now. There's these birds and they keep bugging this little baby rabbit in my garden. And for some reason, something keeps telling me to call you, that you have to come take care of this rabbit. So I went to her house yesterday just to make sure, maybe the mother will come, But these birds are just like, and that's right. I sat by the rabbit to make sure the birds went, and the mother wasn't coming. And my friend said the baby rabbit had been there since 2 days before. And she was watching and nothing, no mother was coming or anything like that. So now I'm taking care of a little rabbit. And guess what I named him? Baby Jesus. Isn't he cute?
beautiful.
So the rabbits made it
gorgeous. That is gorgeous.
So cute.
And rabbits made it into our presentation again.
I have another question from the chat over here. Does anybody have sync numbers? Like mine are 1111 and 1234. And a lot of times I will get the trip digits when I just randomly look at a clock or randomly looking around. Does anybody have any sync numbers like that? Open panel.
I guess I have to answer first, but
There
yeah,
we
I get
go.
all
Go
sorts
Shane.
of them.
What are
I get
your
them all the
things?
time. 1111 is probably my main one. Yeah, definitely.
On your hat? Another hat that you have, mine are 333 and 5555. I just see fives everywhere.
You know, I'm not really into numbers, and I never really was super interested in that numbers thing. So I think that's probably why I don't have them. But I have other things that are symbolic to me, like certain things I run into mean certain things for me. So like predictors and like that. So I think part of it is just if you believe in it, then you get it back. If you put your interest in it and you want to experience that. But if that's not your deal, then you might have a different route and you'll get the information a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those numbers started showing up for me back around 94, and just all of them. The 111, 222, 333, 444, 555. Never see the 666 really, so pretty much stops at 555 for me.
Probably good.
Mike
For
is
this
on. Yeah.
Did you guys see a lot of twos for the conference? Like right before the conference, were twos prominent in any way? Could have just been me.
I could say I've seen 222 quite a bit leading up to this. I'd agree with that.
Me too. And that's not one of my numbers.
Somebody
No, not
said one
generally
of
speaking
mine.
me either.
Somebody said one of my events started at 1111. So I think that was a number for them. It was at
Hi,
my
Jen.
time, in my time zone. It was 11.
Oh,
Welcome to
right.
Jan.
I'll add.
She's stepping away for just a moment.
I see
Go ahead.
the 1111s. I see a lot of things with sevens inside of them. One of the things that started to happen to me, I don't know if anyone else has this phenomena too, where lights will start flashing. And it's almost like it's Morse code or something, but like in my bathroom, for example, there's like a light that started flashing randomly. So I keep putting new bulbs in. I put a new bulb in, and then like I just took the light bulb out. I'm like, I can't deal with it anymore. I wasn't fixing it. And then the other light starts flashing. And I'm like, so yeah, things all over the place. I haven't read into what the signs are, but it's very interesting.
Just put it into a meditation.
Yeah.
Oh, threaten it with a meditation, actually.
Threaten it.
It should fix.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome to the panel Miss Jan Ingalls Smith. Thank you for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you.
Miss Jan, do you have any numbers that pop up like the triple numbers, like the 111, 222, 1111, sync numbers? Do you have any of those?
The 1111. In fact, my whole business is based on 1111. And when I went down to register at the state, for a business license, it was the woman behind the counter was so agreeable because she hit the button right at 1111 for me to register it. But yeah, 11. It's all through our family. I have stories and stories and stories about it's all being 11s, and so yeah, that's been a number with me for a long time.
That's awesome. I've never heard it going down through a family line. That's new to me.
Yeah, my it's mostly 11, but then 1111 is a big part of it. But my husband and I were 11 years apart, and then we got married on the 11th, and then our children were 7-4 and 5-6, which is 11, and my other one was 11 days late, and then your social security numbers were 11 numbers apart, so it's just like it's all over. And then my son, then his wife's parents were married on the exact same day that Ed and I were, which was August 11th. So they got married on the 11th. So August 11th. So it's just all over the place, just 11s. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Anybody else have any sync numbers? Is anybody getting sync numbers that aren't a normal number? Like a 1-3 or a 5-9 or any numbers that aren't a classic trip or sync number?
I have a story. Weird. So the property that I'm in now where I'm at, I purchased a new gallery space when I moved to this town. And I was called to this property, which I saw it on the internet. And I was like, there's something about this property. And it was speaking like, you have to have this. And okay, my process is don't ask questions, just do it. And so the unit number is 144, and the town that it's in, Edmonton, there isn't high architectural value. Like there aren't very many unique properties here. So when I saw it on the internet, I was like, this is not an Edmonton property. This is so strange. And so I followed it, went to the bank, had a meeting, got it all through. And then we were in the purchasing process, and I got called out of town to do some work in Quebec City. And strangely enough, I'm staying at a monastery. So I was working for a monastery at the time, and they give me my room key, and it's 144. Meanwhile, this deal's going through for this property, which is also the number 144. So that was really interesting to me. It was a very, very challenging project at the monastery. So my mind was like very much in the what is going on right now. And then having to deal with having this real estate deal go through. And I put down the deposit for this space, so $25,000 to the owners, and without condition, which is not the way you usually purchase a property. However, I knew that I was being prompted to purchase this, and I had to go to Quebec City. So that's why I was like, I'm just going to leave this money with you, so I'm serious about buying it, and we will work remotely on this deal. So I was quite loaded up with work at the business side of things with this project, doing this deal. I'm trying to get my lawyers involved remotely to have things down, and the down payment for the space is kind of fluctuating because of the mortgage deal that we're working on. And I'm just like, whatever it takes, I know I'll have enough money. Which in the end, at the last minute, things are falling through with the mortgage brokers, et cetera, and I'd laid down this deposit amount, which I was going to lose if I couldn't find a mortgage in time before closing. However, I knew something was guiding this, right? So I needed to make a bunch of money really fast. And I'm talking like 2 weeks. I need to make at least $60,000. So I just put one foot in front of the other. I don't even know how it came to be. Honestly, that's how, no questions I was asking. I was just making the phone calls I needed to make. I don't even know how it came to be. All of a sudden I look and I'm not looking either. That's part of my practice, is I'm not going to be constantly checking my bank account to be like, do I have enough? Do I have enough? I just was doing what I was being asked to do, and whatever number was being into my bank account was going to be the correct amount, even though the number kept raising from the mortgage broker side of things. And then we're a couple of days away from closing. The broker still hasn't found the right deal. And like straight up miracle, a day before closing, I would have lost the $25,000. She calls me and she's like, I found somebody to do it. You need 35% down. And I was like, okay, put together the number, just send it to me right now. So she had to put the down payment, the lawyer's fees, all of certain fees, give me the lump sum I asked her. She emails me, and the down payment, including all of those fees, was exactly $144,000. I looked into my bank account. I had exactly $144,000.
Wow.
So that number 144 was kind of just like, pay attention to this number, pay attention to this number. And I still don't fully understand what 144 means or what 144,000 means. I have allowed a bit of information to come to me. And I mean, 144 speed of light, it does fit into the Fibonacci sequence. Some other, Shane, you mentioned something about 144,000.
Yeah, the 144,000 in the Bible.
What is that?
Mentioned in Revelations.
Revelations. Wait, it's Revelations right now. Okay, go on.
Right.
Okay, it's tying together. Hand it over.
Right. Yeah, it's from Revelations, and it's supposed to be like the 144 chosen ones or something like that. Yeah, you'll have to look into it more. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Plus, it might have changed since I last looked. It's been like a decade or something. Chances are it probably did.
144,000 are the chosen, I believe, according to some belief systems. It's been interpreted a multitude of ways. The chosen to go to heaven, or the chosen to lead the people. There's a whole bunch of different interpretations. There's supposed to all be versions also, which disqualifies me. I have another question. Mandela Mile asked, has anybody's birth date changed? It says she's 2 days older. Does anybody else's had a birth date that changed? And I'm getting full no's across the board. So Mandela Mile, congratulations. You are the first one to report a changed birthday. Actually, that's about the second one I've heard, truth be told.
I heard
Really
one
strange.
that he was suddenly found out that his driver's license was wrong, and that his actual birth certificate had a different day, and he couldn't figure out how that could have ever happened. And all of his parents and his family all remembered the other day. So that was quite a long time ago. So he got a new birthday that way.
Anyone else know of any stories like that? 'Cause I don't.
Well, I just know one that it wasn't the birthday that changed, but Thanksgiving Thursday changed in the United States, and that person, they knew that Thanksgiving Thursday had changed because their birthday used to be on the third Thursday, and that's what they remember. And now it's no longer on the third Thursday. So the fact that they always had their birthday on Thanksgiving or right around that same time, it was hitting constantly. Now it never hits it ever at all. That's trippy.
3
for
or 4
them.
years ago, I was working at Dairy Queen, and the Thanksgiving thing came up, and I had a lot of other employees with me that weren't a Mandela affected, but were screaming about how no. I always thought it was the third Thursday. It doesn't say right. Oh, what happened? Oh, we must have been mistaken. No, I'm sure it was the third Thursday. So yeah, I remember when that one come out, and I'm in full agreement. It was the third Thursday of the month for me, also.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And
But
go ahead.
I think there's a quantum zeno. If you want a physics reason for why a person's birthday usually wouldn't change, that would be that quantum zeno effect, because typically you'll be kind of locking it in. It's sort of like the other flip side of what Kimberly was just talking about. You don't want to keep staring at your bank account when you're hoping it's going to change. And if you keep checking your birthday, then you're less likely to see it change. So I don't know what Mandela Mile did, but may have had a different experience. I don't know what's involved in experiencing your birthday change. That's got to be an interesting situation.
I just want to know how long I got to ignore my bank account before it becomes billions. Will the okay? I got a
Infinity,
question for the
Jerry.
whole
Infinity.
If I had infinity money, oh my goodness,
You
I wouldn't want
do.
anything in this
But,
world.
there's another way to look at it instead of looking at the numbers. Just imagine everything you want to do. Don't worry about the money. And just like, I want to live this lifestyle. And I want to have, whatever you like, travel, more leisure, whatever. And don't even worry about how it comes to pass. Just think about how cool it would be. And don't worry about it though. And enjoy the fantasy and just build it in your mind. Build your future in your mind. And then the universe will figure the rest out. It's easier to let the universe figure it out than to try to figure it out yourself, because there's a billion ways that it could do it, and it knows the best ways.
And I'm a walking testament to this.
And you could do a lot more. You could go further.
Yeah.
Much further.
Absolutely. I'm not anything any more special than anyone sitting in the chat or any one of you.
Yes,
All we
definitely.
did is had a dream and pushed for it. That's it. That's the only thing that's happened. I'm no more special than anyone else, but if you push, if you try, if you concentrate, if you dream that dream, then there's no telling what can come out of it, as you guys are witnessing as we sit here today. And I've got another wonderful final question for the panel. This should take us out to the final moments. So, what do you guys think will the future bring for the Mandela effect? Will we see more Mandelas? Will it ramp up? Will it slow down? Will it end? What do you guys think is going to happen in the future? Go.
Okay, so what I suspect is going to happen is that all of the old beliefs, assumptions, whatever, are going to pass away. They're going to slowly change and be replaced by a whole new batch. And there's going to be a lot of excuses for it, like the distrust of media. Oh, the media just lied this whole time. The victors of the wars wrote the stories. Those are just common misconceptions that your teacher taught you wrong. You remembered wrong. All these excuses that we'll have that will kind of smooth it over so people don't freak out too much. And also, I do think that there's kind of a memory fuzzing effect on a lot of these. I just think that some of us are a little bit more immune to that. And that's why we remember, because I have noticed that for certain people, anytime you ask them about a Mandela, they suddenly can't remember anything, like even if they should know about that. Like, they'll remember all the way up to the point in question, and then they'll be all fuzzy, and then they'll remember all the rest after it. So I do think that there is like a bad memory effect, but I think it's different than the way the skeptics use it. I think it's sort of like trying to hide it from us, and maybe just because it's too shocking for a lot of people and kind of hard to deal with. I'm not sure on exactly all the effects on that. So that's what I think. I think we're going to get a whole new reality, basically.
I'll go next.
Okay. Go ahead.
I feel as if it's going to increase that. What happens is that when things start being talked about and recognized, it goes more commonly into the collective. And as things go into the collective, it's accessible to more and more people. And pretty soon it will be common knowledge. It will just be the way that the world is. And the next step is people will start using it with very conscious intent to bring certain things to them, kind of like what you were saying, Jerry, because my guidance was, and continues to be, the spirits say this to me all the time. They say, Jan, you don't have to figure anything out. All you have to do is hold the vibration. If you just hold the vibration, it's just going to appear. And so I think as more and more people, get used to this and it's common, they will just feel like it's normal, and boom de boom, we'll be on to another step with the Mandela that's even more productive with, healings and a better world and all the different things, because we're all focusing on that. So holding the vibration.
Next.
Well, I loved what Evan Maitreya presented, Moneybags, because he was talking about this ninth wave, and I thought that was fascinating. I've got the book, the Kelman book, and Regina mentioned it also. So I'm going to riff off of that and say that what you're noticing, if you're recognizing that we've got this higher frequency vibration that all of us are picking up on, and we're noticing everything we're thinking and feeling is starting to have some effect, even if it's not our conscious mind, but it's our collective subconscious. That's extraordinary. And then I totally would agree with what Jan Ingalls Smith was just saying, that obviously when you've got these, we're in the midst of this amazing time in history, and it is a great awakening, which Christopher Anatra mentioned. I'm just going to riff off a bunch of you guys, borrow from you, put together this beautiful piece. And then absolutely, we're definitely experiencing this new world, this new beginning. It's a new renaissance. It's a new birth. So this is the birth of what I would call that higher dimensional mind that we've talked about throughout this conference. It really is a third level of reflective cognition. It's just another way of looking at it. I think that you can see it in the biblical prophecies. So we're in an extraordinary time. And like Kimberly says, look for the good. And also Suso emphasized that today. So I would definitely emphasize those same points.
And what is your phrase, Cynthia?
How good can it get? Yeah, let's go.
Anybody else like to speculate on the future of the Mandela
I feel
effect?
the same way. I agree with all of you. I feel like maybe that's why we came together. We just kind of meshed into this particular time frame of sharing Mandela effects for a whole week, and then kind of going off into other related areas that feel more consciousness oriented. But for me, that's totally normal, because the Mandela effect to me is like a wake-up call. It's like the thing that shakes you and says, hey, wake up, this piece of reality just changed on you. And then this piece over here just shifted. And then you start to notice them like all the time. And you start to figure out, well, what's making these things that were supposed to be permanent change? And that's where I got into, like what Eva was saying, well, could it be consciousness? Could it be me? Could it be based on what I'm focusing on? Or is it what Cynthia and Jan just said, the collective? Are they shifting things around me? And I came to the conclusion that I don't know, but I highly suspect that it's a little of both. That I have my own little reality bubble and I shifted my tires somewhere, something changed my tires, and probably for a good reason that I'm not aware of. And the bigger shifts in the collective, I'm just sharing with you guys, but we don't all share the same ones. Like Shane and I have loads that are the same, but then there's a few that we don't share. So I couldn't say we all jump together into this timeline from that timeline, because we all have slightly different memories. So I'll just stop talking and say, I think this is the beginning, the signpost of a new way for humanity to consciously interact with a material environment. That's kind of how I see it, as like a beginning.
And
Go ahead, Chris.
I'll add to that too. So there's a phrase, we are creating it all. But one of the things that I've noticed when I talk to people, I'll say, like, what do you think about the Mandela effect? And most people will be like, oh, that's interesting. They seem to indicate they know what it is. And then when I'll ask them another question, they'll be like, well, I don't really know what that is. So I think that it's going to be more entered into the mainstream as more things begin to happen, and it becomes like, well, why did, like, I remember it this way and now it's this way. And I think it's going to become more of a mainstream type thing. And I think that we're all given an edge because we're all starting to understand, or we're at least at the beginning stages of understanding the way consciousness works and the way our reality works. And we're putting these things together now. So we kind of have like a little bit of an edge over other people, but for sure it's going to be more and more and more. And I think the future is going to be pretty interesting, very interesting. Can't wait.
Well, I've seen it going for 5 years now. I'm going to go ahead and throw my 2 cents in on this. I'll carry it on the panel. And when I first found it, I thought this is going to be a 6-month thing. It's going to be debunked. There's nothing to this. And then about a year in, I thought, well, there's something to this legitly. Now, mind you, I was convinced, don't get me wrong. I was convinced that it was real. But there's always that chance of somebody going to come out, okay, here's what really happened. Fair enough. And as it carries on, I've just noticed it hasn't slowed down. It hasn't let up. It hasn't stopped changing things. I don't think after 5 years that it's just going to suddenly stop. I think we're going to continue to carry on, have all these changes come up. And I think eventually there's going to be something that when it changes, the entire world's going to go, whoa, 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 shenanigans.
Well, I definitely think things are definitely going to continue to shift. And a lot of what I feel is like stuff shifting all the time. It's just we're getting better at noticing them. We're paying attention more. So I do feel like that has a lot to do with it. I don't know so much that they're increasing as much as our noticing is increasing. So I'm still on the fence about what's actually happening. Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, if anyone else wants to go before, it's okay. Yeah, this is my opinion, so like take it if you want or not. I see this as like an effect that goes into the hologram rendering and the chess moves of maintenance of power over individuals, bubbles of reality, and wider territories, and the capacitance of intelligence put more towards each bubbles of reality in maintaining way. And then the chess moves of light and then dark back and forth, and how like when the dark gains a whole bunch of power from the light because it doesn't make its own, it doesn't earn its own, and then it feels it needs to make a big chess move that changes the whole reality, then that gives a whole bunch of power directed at us of our own power. And so like people have ways of flipping that dark into a light and then regaining their power and then becoming resilient and then shifting it into where, oh, you use this against me, now I get to use this even greater chess move, and then expanding in how many Mandela effects have occurred. Like I've seen the amount of Mandela effects being created daily doubling since the quarantine thing. And so each big chess move that they play, you can imagine that it will double it even more. And there's certain places people can go around the planet. It's mostly having to do with healing yourself in the ability as well as the earth, the capacity in the hologram. Because the light side wants everyone in the game to wake up, realize who they are, and then help what's going on. So it will be an observer thing. As people wake up, they'll observe more, and people will be putting out more, as well as it will go along with their power to be able to bring greater shifts of positivity to the timeline, and vice versa, back and forth. And there are places people can go in themselves as well as external to heal the planet, like Nova Scotia and the Lake Huron and the Great Lakes, that are really good. If that was like healed as land, it would quite dramatically increase the number of Mandela effects that I'm allowed to say that is okay with being said publicly. It depends on if the light gets an upper hand continually on the dark, which they have been taking back their power.
So, Sean, are we going to Lake Huron or Nova Scotia anytime soon?
I've always
John?
wanted to go clam digging in Nova Scotia, Chris.
There you go.
Powerful clams.
It's Connecticut's hat.
It's
Oh, have you heard about
Nova
the
Scotia.
freshwater clams that are like all these new breeds of like shellfish are coming into existence, and
Oh, really?
they're like purifying every water system that they're in.
Oh, wow. Yay, clams.
And I'm going to go through with final thoughts. I'll go one by one here. We're going to close this panel out. Don't worry, guys. We're not completely done. There's still a contest. We're not done yet. So we're going to take a break after this, a couple-minute break, do some deliberating, and come back with the final winners. But final thoughts. I'm going to start out here with Miss Eva Nye.
Skip me. I haven't thought of one yet.
Fair enough. I'm just going by my screen. You're the first one in the top
Yeah, I
block.
know.
So, Cynthia, Sue, Larson, ma'am, final thoughts.
Keep thinking for yourself. I know a lot of people get triggered about this topic, even within our own community, and you would not expect that. It's happening. It happens. That's okay. So just keep in mind, what are we really looking for? I would hope that we're looking for answers, and by asking good questions, by not assuming that we know that somehow we, like any of us, are greater or at the same level as God. That's hubris. And so let's try to be respectful. I know it's challenging, but let's do better. Let's reach out. Let's apologize if we feel like we need to. Sometimes things go wrong. During this conference, we've had glitches. So if anyone was adversely affected by any of those glitches, I will personally apologize for that. Certainly, that was not our intention. Our intention is to entertain, yes, but most of all, to encourage people, like Jerry says, to have fun. Really embrace this concept from a perspective and an attitude of joyfulness. And I think it is possible. Some of us are learning as we go, and that's okay. So thank you to everyone for making this a better experience. And you know my favorite question, if we can keep aiming onward and upward, just go as high as we can. How good can it get for everyone concerned? That's really what I would always wish for. So thank you.
I love it. How good can it get? And that is a question I find myself asking a lot. For whatever reason. And I would suggest the worst things are for you guys, well, you're having a super bad day, just ask how good can it get. Even if in a sarcastic tone, you'd be surprised. Akronos, Mago, final thoughts, my friend, Mr. Moneyman over here.
Well, I think that Mandela effect has proven that reality has changed in the past. And if it has changed in the past, then it can change in the future, and it can change in the now. That's simple truism. So let's have reality change for the better. That's all I can say.
I love it. What better way? What better final thoughts? Yes, reality change for the better. We can't ask for anything more. Jan Angles Smith. I'm going to try to go female male here. Jan Angles Smith, final thoughts on the conference. You are muted, by the way.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say how impressed I was and honored to be in this conference and on these panels. I love open-minded people. I feel that the humanity has lived way too much of life oppressed and dumbed down, so to speak. And I feel that for me, I always say when I hear information, does this make me happy? Does this make me excited? Or does it scare me? Now, those are my two things. And this makes me happy and excited. And so I go for those things. And that's what I bring into my, I'm sorry, my door just slammed. That's what I gauge my reality with. That's the reality that I live in. I don't entertain the things that do otherwise. And I basically don't really have them in my world. And so I'm going to go with what I know, and that's it.
Very well stated. Yeah. Again, I think I can fully agree. Jeez. Shane Robinson, final thoughts.
I think really, for me, Revelations of the Mandela Effect has really let me back within myself and revealed to me what is the Mandela Effect revealed within me, how I've responded, how I've come across things that I had to decide, am I going to let this go? Am I going to believe something that really wasn't my experience? So I really have had to go back to the drawing board with a lot of things. And I had no idea there was a surprise, Kimberly. There's a surprise of liberation waiting for you that I had no idea that it's almost like a book bag full of rocks, that you just drop and you're like, wow, I can't believe I didn't drop this a lot sooner. So I would just tell anybody, just be optimistic, expect the best. How good can it get? To borrow a great phrase.
How good can it get? I can't tell you how much I love hearing that. Eileen Colts, thank you so much for your amazing presentations this round. We really appreciated having you on board this year, along with everybody here. I don't want to single out one. Everybody, we appreciate you guys being here.
Everybody.
Eileen, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'm just really happy to meet people who actually have different opinions to me on the Mandela effect, but you guys don't seem to mind if mine is different. And then I'm like, flexible. And I'm like, I can actually morph some of my ideas, which a lot of people would call weak. But I call that being open-minded to maybe I don't have all the answers now, and maybe the people around me don't have them, but together we can figure out a heck of a lot more than if we just isolate ourselves in our own little cocoon bubbles, very much reflected in our larger society right now with polarization and things like that. So I kind of feel like this community helps show the way that different groups can come together. It doesn't matter what their religions are. It doesn't matter how much money they have. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters except what is happening with consciousness, the reality bubble, the material world, the Mandela effect, and why. Why is that happening? And more importantly, how does that empower us individually and as a group to move forward and maybe use the Mandela effect as a tool, so maybe it can go from being an awakening tool to like a manifestation tool, like everybody was saying here today, with energy flows where focus goes. So keep it positive, keep it loving, keep it open, and let's see where this takes us.
Mm-hmm.
Beautifully stated. And I love the idea of moving forward and asking more questions like how, why, what could be out of it, things like that. Jan, you got your hand up here?
No, I was just clapping.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell exactly if you were trying to get the attention or what it was. I'm not used to the way this program works, so my apologies.
I had all these little reactions down here, and I was like, well, I'm going to play with this.
That's a button I haven't played with yet because I'm scared it's going to mess my screen up.
Or you can have clapping hands or thumbs up like this. Yay!
You know what? I like that. I'm going to play with those some more. Thumbs up. Absolutely. Sean Bond, final thoughts, my friend.
I love you all. Thank you so much for being so accepting and well balanced. Like so many other people or combinations of people that could have done this wouldn't have been able to hold it up. It would have broken apart into drama. And it's very refreshing to see such strength and ability to see the focus of things to where it's not about like getting one's point of view across out here on all sides in the pursuit of truth, not proving the thing we're holding on to is true. And that love and unity is how we come to a better timeline. And that we can solve all the division if we look within ourselves, and then that permeates every action and interaction we have. Thus afterwards, we can bring to peace the hardest wars, the struggles, our greatest enemy, if we do these processes and the stepping stones going within to find the truth.
Well stated, sir. Absolutely well stated. Thank you. Kimberly-Lynn Hanson, our surpriser today. I got to say, you blew my mind. 100% hands down, the whole conference. You were the one thing that just made my head explode. I loved it. Thank you so much for bringing Suso on board with you. That was so much fun. Kimberly, last thoughts.
My last thoughts, which are first beginning thoughts. I wish everyone could understand what a work in progress is. And not to be judgmental, because it's not over. And we're all creating this. And a work in progress is not meant to be judged. When you are working with the work in progress, your job is to bring about the beauty and just take one step forward at each moment and do what you can do in that moment. And so when I'm working on a work in progress and it feels frustrating and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere, I blur my eyes. And if you can just blur your eyes and love first and know what it looks like later and know what it means later, it will make itself.
Well stated. And what beautiful wisdom to carry on into the future. I absolutely love it. Who else do I have left? Have I skipped anyone minus? If I've skipped Chris, okay. If I've skipped you, please let me know. You are muted. You know this.
Yes.
Final thoughts, Mr. Christopher Anatra.
So the Mandela effect for myself personally, and I think a lot of us, really changed my life. My life was on a certain track. It was not the best track at all. And it changed things for me so that I could begin to look at things in a completely different way and a fresh way that I could have never seen before. So for myself, and I think for a lot of people, it's kind of the starting point. It's the starting point to get to another level. And I remember, like we all know, Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. And when I'm looking at all of you here and just feeling it from the audience too, we're all resonating at the same frequency or a very similar frequency. That's why we're getting along so well. That's why we have like this love that we show for each other. We have this like thirst for knowledge, this thirst to like figure out, at least for me, hidden meanings of Mandela effects. You go beyond the shock value, and then it's like, wow, what did that actually mean? Is there more to it than that? So having conferences like this where we can come together, as other people have said, with all different points of view, without being judgmental of each other. And even if we don't agree with someone, we can still find wisdom in what they say. There's always at least some little nugget of truth somewhere that we can bring into our reality and be like, wow, that really makes sense. I'm glad. I may not agree with that person 100%, but he said something or she said something that triggered something within me. So I love this. I look forward to having like more of these, being part of these things with everyone. And I'm just so grateful and so excited for what the future is going to hold. It's going to be, there's going to be some rough points, I'm sure, some things we don't understand. But I think for the most part, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So I just want to thank
Chris. Thank you, Chris, for bringing all of this together and for doing so much background work. Like, you were the businessman in all of this.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was my honor to do that. And I know this is an organization that's just going to take off and be its own thing. And but I was happy to do a little bit to kind of get it started. And I want to thank my friends at Frontline that put all this together and, you know, making this as seamless as possible. So I really appreciate that too. Thanks, Heather in the back.
Heather!
Thanks to all of the group, John, Scott, Heather, and everybody over at Frontline. They have done a top-notch, 100% hands-down job. There's that thumbs up from the front line. There we go. Tech team, congratulations. You guys have done great, and we appreciate you, every last one of us. Hey, Chris, how good can it get?
Oh, it's going to get even better.
It's going to get even better. That's right. And last but not least, I must say also, Chris, you spoke about the team, the core team that puts all this together. And you're right. We have a love and a respect and a passion for each other that is just out of this world. I know you guys don't really get to experience this and see all the behind the scenes stuff or any of it, really. But let me tell you, working with these guys every day, the email strings, the conversations, it's always, always, always out of love and a passion for this community. So I gotta say, I've never worked with a better group of people, more amazing team in all my life. This is truly divinely inspired. That will be my final thoughts. And ladies and gentlemen, Eva Nye, I believe, will have the final say. Final thoughts, Eva.
I didn't really plan it that way. I think you guys have all done a really good job of summarizing it. So now I feel kind of bad. But the one thing I did want to say is from a more practical perspective, as far as just little things we can do, I think it helps a lot if you kind of look at what triggers you have when you get kind of irrationally angry or just kind of flip a little bit. What are your buttons? And kind of explore those and look inside yourself instead of kind of saying, well, that person's fault. What is it about you that makes that a trigger? And if you can understand those things, I think you'll find out a lot more about yourself and your weak spots. I know it's really worked for me anyway. So that's just my suggestion for kind of smoothing the passage to a better place.
And I don't think anybody could have summed it up any better than that. Eva, well said. Well said, everybody on the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, the super panel for the International Mandela Effect 2020 Conference, Eva Nye, Cynthia Sue Larson, Akronos Mago, Shane Robinson, Eileen Colts, Sean Bond, Christopher the Quantum Businessman Anatra, Kimberly-Lynn Hanson, and Jan Inglesmith, and I am Jerry the Dark Wolf Hicks. And it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to be here with you, as well as the tech team over there waving in. Sorry about that, tech team. We appreciate you guys just as much. I am Jerry the Dark Wolf Hicks, and on behalf of everybody on the panel, I want to thank everyone for being here in the chat, for being here with us in person, and for enjoying this conference. We're going to take one last 10 to 15 minute break. We got some last deliberations to do. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a special announcement that not even my team knows. So here we go. Surprises. I've got surprises. We're not going to give away 2 books today. I'm sorry. We're going to give away 4 books today. It has been brought to our attention that 2 extra books have been donated by Mr. Suso. So thank you, Suso. We sincerely appreciate that. So we will be giving away 4 books this evening. So we've got a little bit more deliberation to do than usual. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in about 15 minutes on behalf of the International Mandela Effect Conference. I am Jerry the Dark Wolf Hicks, and we shall be right back. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final moments of the International Mandela Effect Conference 2020. We have some big announcements to make. Number 1, we have some books we need to give away. I mentioned a moment ago, we're giving away 4 books today as a final hoorah finale for the conference. And the first winner of the book contest, winning a copy of Friend or Foe, The Mandela Effect by Shane Robinson himself, as well as Vanessa VA, Eileen Colts, and Pablo Pinto, correct?
Paulo Pinto, yeah. Spirit Walker YouTuber, yeah.
Spirit Walker, perfect. So 2 people have won this book today. We have Omega Spark. Congratulations, you won a copy of Mandela Effect Friend or Foe, as well as Jen's Gems. Congratulations. Way to go. Next up, we have Mind Beyond Matter. And this is not showing well in my green screen. Mind Beyond Matter by Anthony Santasuso. 2 winners of this book are Richard Sexton, congratulations. You asked quite a few good questions today, I got to say. And Laura Lee, congratulations. You both have won a copy of Suso's book. And I want to thank everyone who participated in the questioning contest and all of the contests we had this week. It has been absolutely amazing. I've had a blast. I know you guys have had a blast, and the questions were absolutely top notch. You guys are the smartest community, I think, to ever exist on YouTube or anywhere else for that matter. I wanted to thank Miss Eva, Miss Cynthia Sue Larson, Miss Kimberly-Lynn Hanson, Mr. Christopher Anatra, Mr. Shane Robinson, and Mr. Sean Bond. As you know, Kimberly-Lynn Hanson being a consultant to our board, Christopher, Shane, and Cynthia being actual board members and office holders, as well as myself. So from all of us, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Also, I would like to say this conference has been very roller coasterish. We've had a lot of different ideas. We've had a lot of different topics. But at the beginning, before the conference occurred, we put out a call to anyone who wanted to be involved with this conference. And not many of you really got back to us. So we're going to do that again. We stand here as a team, as a board, and we are now putting out a call for anyone who would like to be a part of the next Mandela Effect Conference. If you would like to be a speaker, a presenter, a supporter, whatever the case may be, please contact us. Team at imec.world. TEAM at IMEC.WORLD. We want to hear from you. I know some of you were a little upset. Some of you were very happy. It's kind of a mixed bag of what you guys thought about it. But if you want us to make it better, help us. We're all about the community. We're all about you guys. We need your help to do these. This is only our second year. We've learned a lot of lessons. There's been a lot of revelations on every side of the fence, both ours and in the entire community itself. And we only hope that we can continue to bring more information and more along the lines of what you guys enjoy. So from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of Cynthia Sue Larson, Kimberly-Lynn Hanson, Christopher Anatra, Shane Robinson, and everybody involved with the Mandela Effect Conference, on behalf of Frontline Entertainment, who have done an amazing job, and we thank so sincerely. On behalf of Fitz, our webmaster, who has done an equally incredible job, as well as our sponsors, Conscious Life News, I'm sorry, I've got to do that correctly. Rippin' Common Sense Radio, Alexis Brooks and Higher Journeys. And let me get the list up in front of me, which I should have had by now, but for some reason I don't. Yes, Alexis Brooks, Higher Journeys, Ripping Common Sense Radio, Conscious Life News, Dream Visions 7 Radio Network, and the Kingdom of Nye Radio Show with Heather Wade. We sincerely appreciate all of the help and sponsorship that has went into this. And I believe I've thanked everybody. So if I've not thanked you, and thank you everyone in chat and everyone in the community, no matter what side of the community you're on. So I believe I have not, then thank you for anyone that I missed, because that is a long list of thank yous, as well as our super chatters. I'm probably should go through that list too. I know, guys, I was totally not prepared for the final moments. I don't like giving this up. I don't want this to end. I had too much fun this week. I don't want this to be over. I don't know about you guys, but I know I have had a blast. And the super chats have also let us know that they've had a blast, like Earth Daughter, Feminem, Melinda Iverson, N, Propagate This Light, Dark Slayer 1, Victoria Macris. By the way, Dark Slayer, I've still got that onion ring recipe locked away safely. Esteban Hernandez, Eric Mill, Nicola Simpson, Utsuko Ushida, Moneybags 70, 73, 76, 73. I'm not entirely sure. 73, 69, 53, 42. Moneybag 73. Thank you so much. Jacqueline Klein, JoJo's, Nadia S., Andy Schwang, The Medium That Rocks. And of course, I've seen Richard Sexton come in at the final day with a super chat. We sincerely appreciate it. I hope everybody has had a good time. The book winners, Otsuko Ushida, Rippin' Rabbit over there, the Rippin' Common Sense Radio, Eric Millman, Mike Infinity, Morris Rhodes, Imaginationary Man, Bella Virgo, Nachiketa, Alva Yarter, Overprotected 222, Omega Spark, Richard Sexton coming in one more time, Jen's Gems, and last but not least, Laura Lee. We thank you so very much, guys. Congratulations. If you have not received your prize, please email us, team@imec.world. Once again, team@imec.world. And from myself, from the IMEC organization, the International Mandela Effect Conference, on behalf of all that is involved, I am Jerry the Dark Wolf Hicks, your MC for this event, and I thank you, and we'll see you next time right here. Bye, everybody.